your business is, you want to go viral running your business in that niche. So let's get the definition here. A specialized segment of the market for a particular kind of product or service. That is a niche. All right. It's specialized. You need to think about where you are in your business. If you are a remote producer, if you are an event producer, that is your niche. But sometimes even in being a remote producer and being a event coordinator, virtual event coordinator, there are still niches inside of that. Now, I don't know how AirMeet works all together, but if it's a way that you could make comments, I know you can write comments, but if there's a way you can give me a thumbs up to let me know that you guys are there, that you're watching it, and that you understand. I see the thumbs up. Guess what? I feel so much better now. We're together on this, and people are writing in the comments. Being glad to with you again, wishing you cooler days. Someone is talking to someone else, and I was just reading the comments, and I got kind of distracted. But we understand that the niches are the richest is in the niche. I don't know who came up with that. It rhymes. It sounds good. Being specialized at something cuts through the clutter for you. So when people see you, they hear you, they get your content, they know exactly what you do. There's no question. And not only the algorithm. So we talk about all kind of platforms that you can be on. And I would tell everybody, I may come back to this again, that from a monetization standpoint, YouTube is the best for content creators to actually pay you. TikTok is really moving as far as exposure. And Instagram is coming up as well as far as exposure, but the monetization part of it, none of the programs kind of beat or meet where YouTube is. So everyone, when you just think about being monetized and getting to the partner program, YouTube is the way to go. And if you niche down, it's easier for YouTube to send people your way based off of what your niche is. And as we get into the conversation going back and forth, we'll be able to figure out what your niche is, making sure that even if you're a remote producer, virtual event planner, you still can niche into different areas. I have one, a remote producer friend that just does it for the medical field with nurses. So a nursing association, like he does their virtual events, and there's so many events to do. Guess what? He can stay right in that lane and actually make enough money to sustain him where it's not a hobby. Okay. So now recently where they were doing virtual events, now because people can do conventions and conferences. So now he's doing the conferences, but they're still virtual and they're in person. So he has stepped up his game. Wow. He stepped up his game. I like that. So let me keep going here. So the next thing that I want to mention is, what do you love to do? What is it really? Like, not this is how I can make money, because you can get a job and make money. But when you're talking about content creation and building around this, guys, I really want to help you understand. You really need to think about, if you had to do this every day forever, could you do it? If you had to do it every day, like what you're doing for content creation, remote producer, virtual events, if you had to do that every day, would it tire you out? Like, you have to be at a place to where you know you absolutely love to do this. Okay? What do you love to do? What are you skilled at doing? All right. Listen, formerly I was a football player, right? I love to play football. I have aged out of that. I did have a little skill. I wasn't professionally skilled, but I really loved to play the game. Now, I wasn't skilled enough to be playing on Sundays in the NFL, but I loved the game. And the reason why I repeated that, because I wanted to give you time to think about some things you love to do, but you're maybe not as skilled at. You're not pro level at that. Because when we talk about niches, and I'm not saying, I want to caveat, we're all learning. We're all learning. Like I could have got like when I was younger, I could have got a trainer or coach that could have maybe trained me up to be a little bit more athletic. If I was willing to spend that time. And then as content creators, there are things that we're not as good at. Like I had to learn how to do these tutorials, but we all in time can learn how to do something a little better. But you have to have some skill. Like I had to bring something to the table as an athlete. I just couldn't say I like playing, but I wasn't fast. I couldn't jump high. All of those things had to be right. Okay. All of those things had to be right. And those are some of the things that I think that as a content creator, we have to be mindful of. What do you love? What are you skilled at? And then the third thing is, how can you help other people? So if you love to do it and you're skilled at it, but there's not a need in the market, that may not be your niche. The market has to have a need for it. If that makes sense, let me see those thumbs up again. I want to be sure that you're still here with me because I believe that third one really, really hits home for a lot of people. All right. For a lot of people. You got to love it, must be skilled at it, and it must be solving a problem. You must find a way to serve other people in that niche. So if you love it, you're skilled at it, but no one is going to YouTube searching for that, why are you making content for it? There's not a need for that content if no one is searching for it. There's not a need for, of course, everybody knows there's a need for remote producers, but maybe what niche in remote producing is the need for? Are you skilled at it? And do you really like to do it? Or have you found something that you think you can make money in? All those things are very important. Okay. All those things are very important. So what I've done here, and this is not something that I wish I could take credit for it. Of course, Chris Doe is the one I got this from, and I kind of modified it for what I wanted to do or how I would like to explain it. You see the 3 circles here, what I love, what I'm skilled at, and then helping others. And then right in the middle of that, where these circles kind of intersect, is my niche. All right, that's my niche. When I can find the sweet spot, okay? If I can find the sweet spot, I see I guess that's confetti saying that you agree with that. That's really cool. I didn't know Aramik did that, but that helps me. That's my niche. And if you're watching this on Erica's social media channel, or if you're right here in Aramik, I want to tell you, if you haven't already inboxed Erica to come on over here, I need you to do that, all right? I need you to do that really quickly so you can be inside of Aramik with us so that we could talk together, because this is a few minutes. I'm going to stop and be able to talk to everybody, answer particular questions about niche. Now, I can't talk about being monetized if I don't help you with finding the right niche, okay? Because I'll say it again, and I know it's cliche, but the truth is the riches is in the niches. When you really get down in something that you love to do, that you're skilled at, and you actually help other people while you do that. So in real life, I call it like your retirement job. Like you enjoy doing it, you're making money from it, and you're helping other people, and you're good at it. Like people come to you for that thing. That's your niche. Whether you are a woodworker, whether you are a music producer, whether you have a great talent and you sing, that's still creating content. All of those things matter, okay? All of those things matter. And Erica, I want to stop right now at this particular point to see if there are any questions about the niche, finding the niche, or experience around that. If there are any questions, I want to stop right there so that, some people get confused about what their niche is. I like doing this, but I don't see where I can make money. And if we could come in and kind of just point you in a particular direction with your niche, or you can say, hey, DJ Strick, man, we're all niched in. And I just make that up, like in the cities. But we have our niche. We understand our niche. I want to be sure that I'm on the right page with you and everyone that's participating so that we are on the same page so that we can move on to how you actually monetize that. So I want to stop. I see hearts. I see a whole bunch of stuff that I don't even know what it is. You're going to have to make, I may have to just put my glasses on so I can see what's at the bottom of the screen here. So Erica, do you think we're good now? People have any questions about the niche, how to find the niche, and niching into the riches or riches in the niches or anything like that?
Well, you are speaking to an audience in the chat about niches, and we are solid event producers. We all have our niches, and I think we all are good on that. If you want to bring anyone on stage, let me know. If anybody wants to be on stage, raise your hand and let us know. And with that, I will leave the stage, but I can still bring others on stage and give you more hearts and claps.
I appreciate the hearts and claps, and I'm going to keep going if that is the case. There's nothing like a good review, guys. Sometimes being in the settings where you can kind of review your niche is important. Okay, so if we are event planners trying to make money, and this is very, very simple, all right? Earning revenue from a business ad. That's what monetization is. So I don't want to just stop us for being so minute. But when we talk about event planning or any business, remember if, and this is for content creators, but I now want to niche my conversation down, right, Erica, to people that are event planners. So don't forget the people that support you in life. All right. When you're trying to monetize, I don't care what kind of business it is. Friends and families are like the first thing. To find ways to help monetize what you're doing, you have to have people that are willing to support you financially. Donations are a really big deal. Having something like Buy Me a Coffee where people can donate to you, PayPal donation button that you can send to the people that you are friends with. This is just to push you along. You say, well, I have a business. I really don't want to push my friends and family. You never know which one of your friends is connected with another company that needs a remote producer. Okay. You never know. So you talking about it, and even from a standpoint of saying, hey, support my business is an easy way to have a conversation with someone. I donated, but more importantly, I could do this for you. I can contact this friend who is doing that. Now, if you don't have friends like that, I'm sorry. Go get you some friends that know some people and start networking. Okay. Now, the old school networking, I mean, really old school networking is like going out to the chambers of commerce and going to those meetings and talking to people. Guess what? That is not going away as we come back. Chambers of commerce meetings are really, really big. Networking meetings do that. Merchandise is a big deal. Merchandise is a big deal. And then sponsorships and affiliate links. So Erica is really big on sponsorships and using your event or selling logos, selling background logos, and selling the visual aspects of your event. She's really, really big on that. She can talk about that all the time. And there's so many other ways that you can actually merchandise the event that you're planning with contacting other direct ship people. Yes, Erica is also the queen of affiliate links as well. She is. So merchandising to where you can get drop ship companies and actually sell through those links, and you get paid, the company gets paid, and you don't even have to see the first piece of merchandise. So there are ways to do that virtually based on your event as well. Even if you're doing it for someone else, don't have them bring the merchandising company to the table. You bring the merchandising company to the table so that you get a cut of what is being sold. Even if they give it away, you still get a cut of what is being given away because you brought the company to the table. So you may have a deal with them on the back end, because even though it is free, it still has to be produced, and a cut could even be $1. That's still a way to merchandise with the company giving away free merchandise. You just want to be thoughtful about that. Sponsorships is a big deal as well. To be able to have a title sponsor, to be and have the different lists, gold, bronze, silver sponsors to whatever that event is, working with your company. So when you're trying to be, if you're trying to be a event producer, you bring these ideas to the table. And at the same time, network with other companies. So when you're thinking about bringing these monetization companies to the table, sponsors to the table, some of these people are friends with you that fit that need. So if there is I'll go back to my friend that has, he does the Nurse Association. He's doing virtual nurse conferences. So if there's anybody from the smocks that they wear, the shoes that they wear, any kind of accessory that a nurse would need to wear, like those companies are potential sponsors. So instead of the Nursing Association saying, hey, these are our sponsors, you can also say, hey, I brought a sponsor to the table that can help, and they're willing to do this. You're helping out, all right, being a part of it. And any sponsor you bring to the table, of course, you get a cut of that. You should be getting a cut, whether it's from the company that you're working with or it's from the other company on the back end. Someone should be compensating you for bringing them to the table. That's really how it works. You get a cut of it all if you're doing it the right way. This is business at the end of the day. And Erica, now what I want to do is come right back to the screen and start answering questions that may be pertinent to individuals that are watching today. So we can kind of talk through where they are when we talk about ideas for being monetized. And I want to give that time because I know I talked a lot. Hopefully I open your mind up for ideas and things that you can do. But if we can kind of bring people to the table or on screen, that would help. And yes, to do business, yes, at the end of the day, right. So it is about business in any way you do it. You have to think business minded. And right now, I would say as remote producers, virtual event planners, this is a wild, wild west. Anything goes. As much as you can think of, you can actually pitch to a company. Depending on where that company is, say a company hasn't even thought of that, go after companies that that potentially could need this service. A friend of yours, okay? Let me tell you how to do it. A friend of yours got to deal with a company, all right? Maybe that company is on the West Coast and they did this particular event and you were aware of it. You may even have worked with your friend on that particular conference. Well, you may find a company in your area, your region, that you can pitch the same idea to. Hey, I was with a company that actually produced a virtual conference on the West Coast for this company. And they had so many people attend and it was great for them. I want to pitch this idea to you, find sponsors and build it for them and say, hey, this is how much it would cost. Like, is that not the great idea? What is the first step to get a sponsor? So, Harry, very good question. Very good question. So there's a song called Green Light. It's a John Legend song. Andre 3000 is on the song, Harry. And at some point of the song, Andre 3000 is talking to John Legend. He says, sometimes you're going to have to come away from that piano. It was a cool line inside of the song. I'm in the studio. I'm down here all the time. Sometimes I'm going to have to come out of this studio and go meet and talk to people. You have to network. You have to know people. All right. And if you're networking and knowing people, it's not always the first time you meet them, how can I monetize this relationship? Sometimes the first thing you do is support them. Hey, what are you doing? Well, that's great, man. You know, I actually do content creation. I know videos. Hey, you mind if I throw a short commercial up for you? Can I do a commercial? Hey, just do a commercial for them and send it to them and say, hey, it's free. Man, that's great. Whether they like it or not. Like if they really like it, you got a good friend. If they don't like it, guess what? You go to the next one. How do I find sponsors? I always have, this is a term I use a lot. The first one is free. All right, just give stuff away. Find a way to be useful to a community or a person, a company, and that is your sponsor. Because if you find ways to support them, you're on their radar as well. But you have to network to that point. You have to know people, and they could be regional. Here you go. Every company is in business and they have a pressure point. They have a problem with reaching their customer. Find out what a company's mission is and what their pressure point is and try to help them solve that problem. If you're in content creation, you create content to solve that problem. How-to videos. Guess what? You can throw up a how-to video and it has nothing to do with that company, but you're teaching people how to solve the problem that that company has, and just send it to them. Hashtag that company and then send it to maybe their marketing department. If it's good, guess what? They're going to love you. If it is good, YouTube is going to send people your way. If you've done a great video and it's solving a problem for that company and people are asking that question in social media and you're answering that through that video, now they are having their attention on you. Now you've won someone over that you can say, hey, that one was free. Of course, you saw how it actually worked. You saw the analytics, or you can share the analytics with them, and you have a new sponsor. It is really that simple. I say it's that simple. It takes work. First one's free. Let's see if we can be friendly to some people so that we can then gain their attention. I hope that answered that question. All right. We got a couple people up with us. Miss L, how are you doing? And
I'm doing
Erica's
great. How
here.
are you, DJ?
Oh, it's good to see you again. Like we just met, like, was it earlier this? It was Monday.
Yes,
Was it Monday or was it
it's Tuesday.
Tuesday? It was Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It's all running
On
together for
Talk
me now.
Virtual.
Exactly. I pray that I brought you some value today, that in some of this talk, I know the niche part was elementary for a lot of people, but being monetized, let's just brainstorm on what may be a good use case for you. Or let me answer your question.
I think that the covering the niche thing was really important because I found that a lot of times that people are in business and they get lost a little bit. You know, it's kind of like the bills have to be paid. I have to figure this out. I have to figure that out. And so, really, I think that was really great. To a great reminder because it is a fundamental process that you have to go through whenever you are in business and that's why you have to always kind of revisit what you're doing and where you are and what you got
That's
going on.
true.
So
That's true.
that was very valuable.
Thank you.
The questions, I guess. So I guess I want to know, like, okay, so you told us how you get your sponsors. So are there any other ways that you get sponsors?
So I've been doing this for a very long time. And outside of content creation, I had a nonprofit organization, and sponsors are really important. If you're doing something that is somewhere in their wheelhouse and they could benefit from your audience, or you can promote their business and what you're doing, that is people. I would just make a list of
Hmm.
those people that some kind of way we cross path in business, and them being a part of my business and me being a part of their business will actually work. They may be completely unaware of you, but if you position it the right way, it will. I would never thought of that. You can bring ideas to someone. All right.
Hmm.
But you have to be thoughtful. You have to think outside of the box. I will go back to friends and family. You never know who is connected to who that could bring a sponsorship opportunity. I'm going to go in my, I do have a church background, so I'm going to go into my church background and say you have to open your mouth when it comes to sponsorship.
Yeah.
You have to be, what does it say? The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yes.
Sometimes we are really good at our skill, the thing that we love to do, and there's a need for it. But that one marketing piece of our own business and getting people to come on board and support us is where we miss out on. And sometimes I will be honest with you on this. If you be honest with yourself and say, hey, I am not good at this. I don't like selling. Find you someone that's what they do. All
Yes.
right. So if it's
I agree
sponsorship,
with that.
find somebody in the business. And guess what? Yes, they will get a cut. And they get a cut of what they bring to the table.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
agree with that because a cut of zero is zero. So
Come
you can
on.
have all a zero, or you can share the wealth. I am
That's
a
true.
firm believer in that. I really am.
That's
I
true.
think that also one of the things that people could also consider is if you have a brand that you want to partner with, that you need to research their niche, right? You need to know what their niche is, and you need to know who their target market is.
Mm-hmm.
and and I am also a firm believer of never creating a product that does not have value.
Right.
A lot of times we create things just because we're like, oh, this little widget is cute and fun and wonderful, and then the widget is useless, right?
Right.
So let's talk about the pet rock, right? There was a lot of money made off that thing, but it was, what was the point, right? So
Right.
and that's why it doesn't exist anymore. So
Right.
so and then just one more thing, and when you're trying to work with companies, it's also important to know what terminal, right, you need to try to talk to. That's super important, I think, when you're trying to partner, because you could be talking to the janitor and the janitor really is not going to be helpful in this situation. So you need to really know who the players are so that
That's
you aren't
true.
spinning your wheels and getting frustrated. Because I think that, a lot of times when we are starting something new and we're trying very hard to get a sponsor, because you're like, it's critical to have cash flow when you're
Right.
doing something. So if you are talking to the wrong people, one, you're wasting time, and then two, you get you can get put off and think that trying to get sponsors doesn't work, and that's just not really the case. You just have to make
Right.
sure that you're doing it correctly.
And you have to be a fit for that company as well. So just because you choose the company doesn't mean that the company chooses you. I will
Mhm.
tell you this, LinkedIn is the best resource right now to finding out who does what in what companies. Do your research, just like Elle is saying. And what you want to do, come on, the marketing person in most companies are on LinkedIn. Okay,
Mhm.
they are, because that's what they do, and they're looking for the next marketing job as well. But their job is to be visible for that company, so the marketing directors are there. Real case study for you. My wife, I told you she's a flute player, and she does it as a jazz flute player, and she's also a part of an orchestra, and she teaches flute to people. So she's got the whole gamut going for herself in the flute world, right? She
Mhm.
was actually trying to go to a particular company to get sponsored. So they do sponsor musicians like that. So you can go to these different companies and they have what they call a roster that they support. And she wanted a particular company to sponsor her. So she made a post one day about needing a new flute because it's time for her to get a new flute. And she hashtagged the three companies that if she did get a new flute, this is the three companies that I would be looking at. All
Mhm.
right. One company that was part of the three responded to her message based off of her doing a hashtag. They were already aware of her, of course, because of the work that she does. So she definitely was someone not new. She's on their radar, but now she's on their radar knowing that she pointed them out and people responded to that post. Well, what if this young lady was one of our artists? And they started the conversation. Now, I will tell you this, it wasn't the company that she was initially going after, but she did get one of the three by just making a post and come on, y'all, it's early, hashtagging that company. And the company responded, and she's on their website. They've already sponsored her with the way she wanted to get sponsored, even better than the company she was going after, to be honest with you.
That's
So it
smart.
worked all the way around. So, I mean, again, open your mouth. Find these people. Elle talked about finding the right person. Use LinkedIn as a resource. Do not stop. This is a business that you want to do. And the more work that you put into it, the more work you can get out of it. Like, it's not easy. A friend of mine asked me, going to be on this show, hey, what is a nice, we want a saying from you, a quote. And the quote that I sent to him was, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
It's
Remember,
true.
in business, it is not easy.
Yes.
Get thick skin, get ready to hear some no's. Okay? Get ready to hear some no's, because out of 10, if you get 1 out of 10, that one person, if you price your services right, could pay for the other 10 that you didn't get.
Yes. And also,
I have a question about that. So you had mentioned first one's free. We have that saying around here also. How do you know when it's time to say no?
Okay, so wait, no means next opportunity.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
There you go. So because you give yourself bandwidth to do the next opportunity by saying no to something that they're taking advantage of. Okay. So when you are working in business and you're providing any type of service and you do something for free, if that person doesn't find ways the next time to reciprocate some type of financial benefit to you, that may not be the right person. And I had a nice blue backdrop going, and it's changed to the next scene and it's red. So I guess I have to speed up my talk to meet my background. You know what I'm saying? But really try to focus on those companies that do. When they come back the second time, I respect, Erica, let me say it this way. I worked for a company a long time ago, and their thing was we would not be the least price company. People are not going to come to us because we have the lowest price. Mm-hmm. They're going to come to us because we bring the best value. Mm-hmm. They made sure they advertised. They made sure that they had a great product, but they were not the cheapest one. And guess what? They made a lot of money. So providing a great service, even though it's free, they can experience it. Wow, you experienced it. I hope you enjoyed that. Listen, the next time I would love to talk to you, be on the front end of whatever you're doing, the event that you're doing. I would love to be on the front end to be able to provide even more service to you. If you need more details about what I can do, please go to my website and see this. And in that gives them all of the products and services that you offer. And you may have price plans, or you may say it's a consultation. And when they see now I have to have a consultation with you, then you can say, wow, that was great. Not only did we do this first event together and you saw the response you got, these are the products that I can even add more value to your next event. And then this is the price. And if you can say that, let me give you a tip with selling. All right. Let me give you a tip with selling. I've sold for a while. Whenever you give a price and it gets to that point in the conversation, whether it's virtual, whether it's on the phone, whether it's in email or anything like that, guys, please write this down. Give your best price and be quiet. Don't justify it. Don't say anything else. Make your price your statement, and that's it.
That's right.
Okay. So
I
if
like that.
you, and then this is just a selling principle. The selling principle. The first one that speaks loses. Okay. After that
Hmm.
price is given, the first one that speaks is the one that loses. So if you try to justify your price, guess what? It's a signal to them. Well, maybe I can negotiate more.
Hmm.
And then whatever they negotiate, you understand that you got the deal. I just got to find the right price point now. But say your price and be quiet. I mean, literally stop texting, stop responding, let them respond. If a week goes by, don't say, hey, I'm following up on what I sent you. No, you can't be that hungry. All right. You got business. No means I'm taking this from L right in this moment, the next opportunity, go to the next opportunity, knowing that you got somebody waiting on you. Okay. You
Hmm.
have to
I
have
like
the
that.
thick skin and be patient on these companies because this is the wild, wild west. People will do remote production for free, and then people would do it for 10 grand. Like, where do you fall into that market? What do you fall in? What makes it beneficial to you to spend your time producing all this stuff? Guess what? If you're doing remote producing now, and you are the producer. Everything is streaming from your location, your office, your business. Guess what you can't have? You can't have just one internet connection. You mess it up. Like, I'm being honest, Spectrum is not that good. And let me not talk about Spectrum. My router that I
Hey, I
spent
got that too.
hundreds of dollars on this router just decides, guess what? We're going to reset. And if you don't have pieces to the puzzle together, you're not just selling your services, you're selling your skill that you spent time, certificates, degrees, all of this stuff. You're selling all of that. So they have to pay for it. Because if the company could do it, they would do it with someone they hired. They don't have the expertise, but you have to make sure you have the things on the back end to be professional. So when you say, well, great, I'll do that for 10 grand.
And then shut up.
That may be awkward for people. That silence may be hard for you. But if you learn how to do it, and then they say, okay, well, how do you like? Do you take a deposit? Boom, you got them.
Hmm.
Oh, that's too much. Well, I'm sorry. I know there are other people out there that does remote producing. Guess what? I have a few people that are on my list. I may be able to send some people your way and give a friend of yours that may be a little cheaper or want the deal. And you work on a back end with them. Guess what? I may have hit this one a little high this time. This is what I think they could go in at. And don't be a business person. You still make money. Give it a deal to somebody you know that does remote producing, and on the back end, you could be a producer that they never see, and you could still make money with
Event producing is a billion-dollar business. So
it.
it doesn't hurt to ask. Worst thing that could happen, I think they say yes and expect you to show up and do the work that you said you would do.
And it's also crazy because if you charge in whatever you're charging them to produce a virtual event is nothing compared to what they would have to pay if you count the venue, the insurance, the travel,
All of
the
that.
all that, it's never going to be as much. So you just have to be willing to say you need to know what your costs are. I'm really big on analytics. I'm really big on knowing your numbers. I'm really big on making sure that you are aware of what it's going to cost you out of pocket because you have to pay other people, you have to have all these things in place. And what is your time worth, right? So
Exactly.
those things are super critical whenever you're going to produce an event. And if somebody, you can't let somebody else determine your worth. You have to know it for yourself. So it's really, really, really important to make sure that you're aware of
I
your
agree.
value.
And that's just being a business person, guys. That's just
Right.
knowing your business. And there's going to be, you got your gross and your net. This is what I gross. This is my net. What's in that net? What's taking out of that gross? Everything. Like, you put everything in there. Your light bill, your water bill, everything. Like the the
Cell
electricity that it
phone.
takes, cell phone, you put everything in that and say, hey, because you got to pay those bills potentially, depending on what kind of business you have, you got to pay that out of the work that you do. This is if they hired, I think L was going, if they hired one on their staff to do this, they would be paying, I want to say, Erica, you and I looked at this. You're talking from $70,000 to $90,000 a year to have a remote producer, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I like doing the math, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
because
might as well just do the math
but
and,
I was
and on
talking
the
about the
low end.
insurance that they would have to have when you rent a venue, you have to have insurance. You have to have insurance to cover people who are going to come in. You have to have insurance to cover also if the event gets canceled. There's a lot of things that you have to cover whenever you're going to actually have an in-person event.
At
That's what I was talking
70,
about. I wasn't talking about employees, huh?
but at $70,000 for an employee, and you're right. But if someone you're just talking about a space that they have to rent, but
Mm-hmm.
personnel is part of what you also
Yep.
are supplying. You're supplying
Mm-hmm.
personnel to them. If someone on the low end as a remote producer making 70 grand in 1 month, that's $5,800, and we're not talking about their benefits and all the other
Right.
stuff that comes along with having a employee on their roster. So now they don't have that. We are a contracted employee. So you have to pay a little more for just the personnel.
Yes.
Okay. And then it's those other things that they're actually saving on by just doing it virtually. And don't, look up and get one of those deals to where it's you are remote producing and also you're the middleman to doing the in-person conference as well. Like, those are all things that's possible. All you have to do is find companies in the area that you hire them to do the work, and you get paid
Yes.
on top of that. Like, it's all possible. It's all possible. There are companies all over the U.S. that's what they do, and they could be your contracted employee. You say, "Well, I want to be
I'm
sure
not
that this is
sure.
the right." Go ahead.
I'm not sure if you guys are seeing the chat, but Ella Glassglow and John Chen just said you got to pay for the magic. Magic is not cheap, and if people want magic on the cheap, you got to find other event producers, other stream producers that will have those cheap prices and put them in place.
That's true. That is so true.
I'm glad you guys touched on this because there's a lot of people that it stops them in their tracks because they don't know how to charge.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
And
not
Well
knowing how to
said.
charge will put you out of business real quick.
quickly, and still, I have a price, but it has to be adjusted at times depending on how much you want. But that person that's going to charge you, $25 an hour, and you working 3 days on this project, and you ain't really making nothing.
Right.
Mm-mm.
What? I,
So
I
Harry,
don't know what you tell them. Yes, sir.
let me do it this way, to help you out. There should be a price standard for everything. All right. So you should know this is what it costs for me to do this based on my skill, based on the industry, based on the equipment, all the stuff that you need. All right. You need to think about, even if you have equipment, know what that equipment would cost to rent if you had to rent it, because you're renting it
Great
for
point.
them, for
Great
you.
point. Thank
All
you.
right. So once you figure out what that price point is, that's your price. This is what I want to take home. This is how much my equipment costs. This is my time. This is how many people I would need to do it and how much I would pay for them. Have that price. So what happens is when we're getting into the business, we start taking gigs because we need gigs. All
Right.
right. And we would take that number all the way down. And then you get to be known as the person that does it for this amount, because people will talk. What you want to do is say, hey, this is my price. And if you're talking to the person that's making a decision, depending on where that relationship is, this is how much it costs to do this. Now, if your budget doesn't meet that, I may have to pull some things out to meet your budget. I'll be willing to work with you, but I want you to know, like, if you go to anybody else, this is what the price is. That shows your experience. All right. It shows your knowledge. Now, if you go below that, that's between you and how you negotiate that deal, but you need to set it because you won't get 100% of the time, you won't get what you don't ask for.
Correct.
All right. So if you're not asking for it, there's no way you can get it. If you're not showing that person a nonverbal show, I know what I am doing. This is what the market is set at. Yes, they may be able to get some people cheaper. L has already said, no, it's time for the next opportunity.
Next.
You go to the next thing. You have to be thinking about that. Like if you're hungry, yes, you have to eat. Okay. Yes, you got to eat and you'll take whatever. But if you get to the point to where you're in business and you're not hungry, but you can set the right prices, I promise you, I do this with my wife when people are calling. So we're booking for 2023 right now. All right. We got all the dates we want for 2022. If someone wants her this year, they're going to pay the highest price. Why? Because I don't need the date.
Mm-hmm.
They want her to come. They're going to pay the highest price because now we're fitting her in and she's away from us as a family. Yes, she's playing and doing what she loves, but there's a lot to get on the airplane the day before you got to perform and rehearse. There's a lot that goes into it. These people are going to pay at the highest level based on our schedule. You got to get some people on the books, but you also have to know what it really, truly costs.
Right.
Let me throw this out there. You mentioned that you're a fan of Christo. I am too. He is a fan of value based pricing. So I don't do hourly rates. What's your take on that for any of you who want to answer?
Wait, Ella in the chat said, "Lord, you can't do nothing for an event for $25 an hour."
Yeah,
And hire people
that's
too.
true.
Lord Jesus.
Real. But there's people that do that. But to answer your question, Erica, I think a day rate would be, or per event, if you're doing like an hour and a half, 2 hour event, per rate is good.
I don't have a set rate for anything. And I think that's I know that sounds kind of messed up, but I don't because I know what my minimums are for
Hmm.
everything because y'all know like I'm a nerd like that. But it depends on the project, right? So if it's a nonprofit and you want to be a sponsor for the nonprofit because it touches your heart, then what you don't charge them, you charge them a little over your minimum to do it, but what you don't charge them counts as what you are using as your sponsorship, right?
Mm.
And so that has to be a value add for your business in that way. And then you turn around and you look at, okay, so there's an event that has 30 speakers and lots of handouts and vendor booths and so you have to think of because there's always pre, during, and post stuff that's going on. So there's no event that's just happening that moment and then you're out and done because it doesn't work that way because you have to do all your speaker setup, your pages for them, and depending on, because we do the whole gamut. So you're going to look at, you got graphics, you have education, you have all these things because just like AirMe is a whole new platform. It's similar to Zoom, but it's not Zoom. It
Mm.
has a lot of the characteristics, but it's not the same. So you have to be ready and prepared to be able to educate and treat people the way that they need to be treated during that time. So it is a super, super important and very, very valuable offering that you have to be willing to give and explain in your contract of what you're offering. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm just going to show up and produce this event," because it's not possible that that's all you're going to do.
That's really good. That's really good. I
Yes.
also think that I listen to Chris Doe a lot. I don't know. You have to know like who's in the industry, what they're doing, and who's leading the thoughts. And he does a great job of bringing thought leaders to his platform, but also talking to his community about how it works. Long time in the game as a graphic designer. Guess what? He understands the graphic designing business. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So the aspect of him being able to work with clients after having so much experience. And when people come to him, he's able to walk them through this is how we do business here. And he's not doing any new work. He's a thought leader for the company. He's got hired people that actually do the graphics and present. But it is what Erica said, value based. Like, how much is this logo, the graphics that we're going to produce for you, really worth to you? What's the value that you get? What is the value? Like his statement is, what is the value of the Coca-Cola logo? Like, it's iconic, right? It's almost priceless to Coke. Like, that's their logo. So building that makes sense. As how do you add value to that? If you're a company should never, like in this case, they're going to have that logo for a very long time, and it represents them, a nonverbal representation of who that business is. That being said, remote producing, understand the type of business that you're in, and add so much value to them that they have to come to you. Now, he's able to work his clients through his way of doing business to actually show them why he's charging them the way he is, and it's not an hourly rate. Be able to reproduce what Chris does for your clients. So if they have people that have already said this is going to be this an hour, and they understand that term is an 8-hour event or it's a 4-hour event, and you have an hour in the front of prep, you have an hour in the end of debriefing, so you got a total of 6 hours, and this is the rate. They understand that really good. And then you say, well, what is the outcome of this? I want to help you get to that outcome. What if it goes down? My job is you have to be really good at that. You have to be really good at that, because if they understand it one way and you're presenting something different, and then that is a huge price, they're going to be asking for your resume. They're going to be asking, who have you done for this before? We want referrals, all those other things before they sign a dotted line. So just understand who you're working with, the industry that you're in, and if they're comfortable in doing it another way, especially as you build. Now, Chris is doing it after years of doing it the other way. But he had to build that platform to get to that particular point to where he could take new clients through, hey, this is how I add value to my companies, and this is what it's going to cost you. Because he's really expensive. But he also has a resume that has a proven track record of helping clients get to the next step. Now, if you don't have a resume, you're new, and you're trying to do it that way, be really good. You have to be a really good salesperson. All right. And you have to have shown that you've done this to other people and all the other aspects of getting a huge client.
Could we welcome Ella Glasgow to the stage? She raised her hand and wanted to come up here with us.
That's awesome.
Hi, y'all.
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Great, great. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I've been trying to come for Erica's been telling me about it for the last month, and I finally had a moment, or I made a moment to come.
That's great. Glad you did. Glad you did.
I'm clapping
How can
for
we
you
help
being
you today?
here,
You got a
Ella.
question or a statement that you want to add?
I was just coming to play.
Oh man, that's cool. Like, we like that too. Like, that's how you build community. That's how you build community. So are you a remote producer as well?
I am. And some of the things that you guys were talking about, in this business, I had to learn a lot of things, even though I'm usually the person that's on the stage. And so over these last 2 years, I've learned a lot. And I will say that for new people coming into the business, and someone said this to me just a few months ago, I was meeting with a virtual event producer that she'd been in the events business for years. And there was a part of me that felt a little bit like an imposter. And she was like, ma'am, shut that down. You've literally been in entertainment for over 20 years. I think you understand what needs to happen for a show. And you have all of these other credentials that other people don't have. So I think that when it comes to, because I know you mentioned people that are new, you have to look at what your past skills were. virtual event producing is new for most, even though it's
Right.
been around longer than 2020. People were doing it. They weren't doing it at the level that we're all doing it now. But
Right.
virtual event producing has been around for long before 2020. That
Right.
being said, the majority of us are new to this. So there are skills that we all have that we bring to the table that set us apart from what Joe Schmo down the street is doing for $4,000.
So so there was this skit that was done, and Tiffany Haddish did this skit, and it went viral, right? So she's teaching women of the street how to build their resume. All right, and it's a funny skit as just to make this light so people to understand what I'm talking about. You may have already seen it. Like she was like, "Now you talk to people all the time, right? Well, you have people skills. Write that on your resume." I was a DJ, all right? So I'm in a booth, not too, it's really similar to my setup here, but I had a big board. Guess what? I was a remote producer every time I went into the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm thinking radio, but that is real remote producing because it's
Yeah.
going out virtually, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
There's skills and talents that you have that if you just change the terms of what they
Yes.
are to fit the industry, you win. But you have to
Exactly.
be creative in that. And I do want to say this because I've heard it in several communities when it comes to content creation, or I don't know why the imposter syndrome is there. And just like the lady said, squash it. Guys, I want to be honest with you. If when I talked about the niche, if it's something that you love to do, when it's something that you're skilled at, and you're providing a service to other people that people have a need for, there's no reason for you to feel like you're an imposter. Everyone had to start somewhere. All
Exactly.
right, just do the work. And once you do it one time, even if you gave it away the first one's free. If you gave it away the first time, that is a resume point for you. That's why you do it. Not only do you provide service to that company, but you also get a resume point that you can say, now I have done this professionally, even if you didn't get paid for it. Right.
Exactly.
So any thought that you have about I'm not good enough to do it, whatever that is in the back of your head, squash that. Because the only person that can stop you from your personal destiny and whatever your niche is, the thing that you love to do, you're already
Mm-hmm.
skilled at it, and you found there's an audience that you can help. The only person that can stop you, you guys know it, is you.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So
I
that's
have a
my
question.
encouragement for you today. All right, let's do it.
My question is the people who undercut, and this is for all you guys, the people who undercut in price, does that hurt the whole industry?
It
No,
can. It can
I don't
hurt the
think
industry.
so. Okay, so I differ on that answer. I
Okay,
don't think
go ahead. I'll
so.
let you grab it first.
Elaborate, L.
I don't think so because you got to think about cars. You can go down the street to the place where you buy here, pay here. Even though they're saying that they're charging you less, they're actually charging you 4 or 5 times more. So if you are a person, if you are a vendor that's looking for somebody to produce your event, if you don't take um, the position that you want to know all the information up front and you want to know what's the difference between the $4,000 producer and the $25,000 producer, and that's going to hurt your business. It's not going to hurt the industry because we're going to keep on going. It's going to keep happening. So you can't let nobody else can control your destiny or control your 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 thing. I mean, I know that
Right.
I probably charge 3 or 4 times more than the next person, but that's just because you get me, you
Right.
know? So
I
I'm a pretty
completely agree
I
special
with
want to
you.
I want to
thing.
jump
I
can I
really
jump in
do.
there on that as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So I'm going to take this from, I understand what it is you're saying. I love what it is that you're saying, Elle, and I understand it from that standpoint of the personal standpoint. But on the whole, for the industry, this industry as it stands right now is quite new. And if there are people undercutting, as Harry asked, some of that happens because I will say for myself, because it was new in 2020, I wasn't sure what to charge, and I did my first hybrid event. Just said yes. I took the Richard Branson route. We'll figure it out, and we did what we did. But I only charged $500, and I had two people on that were just wonderful enough that are still a part of my team that were just like, we're going to do help you whatever we can, you know. But the thing, obviously, I charge a whole lot more than that now for a hybrid. But the thing is that if people continue to charge low prices, it does affect the industry because it affects the perception of what's available to the people. Because if all they know, if all they've ever talked to, people continue to talk to people that say they're going to charge them $4,000 for a 2 day, two full days, and that's all they hear. And then here we come charging 50, 60, 100 plus for a 2 day event. Then they're going to be like, huh? But
That other
they
person
Right.
did
charged
put
But
4,000.
4,000.
But
I
I
don't
agree.
understand.
I agree, and I agree somewhat. But the point is that it's not new. It's new to you. Zakia was doing virtual events way before the pandemic ever hit, so it's not really a new situation. We've been doing these things way before because even because I stream I broadcast TV. So we've been doing when we had to have uplinks. I mean, this was back in the day where you had to have a physical satellite dish on the back of a truck that you got to send out to a location to be able to send it to the satellite for us to be able to pull it down on the
That's old
downlink.
school.
So this is not new.
No,
So
when I say new, I'm talking about in this particular iteration, in this grand scheme of everybody knowing about it, because
but right,
big
I
companies knew
understand.
about it for years and years, right? Like you just
Right.
said.
And I totally get it. I totally get it. But it's not new. And if you know, so that's what I'm talking about. The difference is your skill. I've been doing this for long time, a long time. And then Zakia's been doing it in this same iteration even longer than probably most of us in this way. So it's not so the idea that it's new is not. And then the skill, right? I have a lot of skills that most people can't even get anymore because of the technology that I had to learn on. And then
Mm.
it's going to kind of go on and on and on. So that's why when if you hire me as a producer, you have a lot more value add and you had to pay me for that.
Yeah.
So
And I guess
because
I'm
I
taking it
can at
too
the time,
from I'm
huh?
taking it too from I'm looking at other industries. So the industry that I come from is being a professional entertainer.
Hmm.
And in that industry that's been around again for a bajillion years, it's taken there are people that still charge $25 for a 5 hour set. Granted, I don't like to do 5 hour sets, but do you know what I mean? And
Right.
so the value of it gets pushed down because there are so many new people that come in that don't know what the fees are. And that was me in the beginning. I didn't know what the fees were in the beginning. And then I was like, wait a minute, let me see what the actual fees are. Because I know it can't be $500.
Right.
Right,
Right.
right.
And I
But,
just
So,
but not everybody's going to do that.
I just
Right.
wanted to
But
add in on what
most of the people in this platform have been doing this for a while. So we already know what the basic plans are and all that kind of stuff, but we don't charge anywhere near what the basic plans are
Right.
because we already know. So but what I'm trying to say is that your industries are not it's the concept that there's no scarcity, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to get to. There's no
and
scarcity.
that's true.
You can't be just because somebody else you have to be able to compare apples to apples. So the skill set that Zakia has, for example, is way greater than I would even say probably me on some areas of the of production because this is what she do all day every day.
Mm.
You know, my particular skill set is totally different. And I have a whole crew of people. I have three crews of people who I work with to get all this stuff done.
Right.
So it's all about you can't, I just don't want people to have that idea that we are in competition against each other, because then that's just not true. We are not, because
Yeah,
we're
I
not
don't.
working for the same industries. That's where you got to go back to the beginning of the conversation when you're going to talk about your niche, right? You also have to know what you're doing. And because you love it doesn't mean that it's great or that you're great at it. And then you also have to be willing to understand your value. Your value is your value. You can't
Right.
compare your value to somebody else. So,
Right.
and I'm not trying to be braggadocious about my skills and all that. That's not the point. I'm just trying to use that as an example, right? It's just what you knowing what you're worth is more important than what the industry says. Because I would pay Zakia a whole lot more money than I would pay some other people who do similar to what she does. Because I know her skill, I know her professionalism. I know that if something pops off, which always happens at an event, because
Right.
nothing ever goes the way you plan it, right?
That's true.
So I know Zakia got me. I know she got me, so I'm not worried. So I can go do what I have to do, and I can keep moving forward. So I just don't want to start that concept in this arena that we are fighting for the pennies and the dregs, because
Right.
that's
And
not.
I think that, so
They
if
won't
that's
let
what
me say it.
if that's what you took from me, I will say that that's not where I was coming from at all. I think it's a matter of lifting all of us up. If
Right.
everybody knows this is what the standard is, not saying, I know that everybody's not going to charge what I charge, everybody's not going to charge what L charges, but if there's not a, you know what, we don't need to go below, for everybody around, just know, don't go below this, because it causes people to think that there's no value. Because if you charge 25 and we know that at the minimum it needs to be this, and this, even if this is where you're starting, maybe you don't feel confident with charging more than this right now, but just start here, so that it doesn't drag everything else down. It's not us fighting or competing, it's raising everybody up so that we know what the standard is.
Yeah, and
So can I
speaking,
add something in,
go
if you
ahead.
don't mind? I'm sorry. You hadn't spoke yet, so I'll yield the floor to you.
All right. So L, first of all, I need a clip of you saying that
I
so I
know,
can
right?
put that ahead
Check
to
is in the mail.
anyone, right? But I, I'm not really coming at it from a cost perspective. It's more of that experience perspective, and what you're going to get from a $4,000 event versus $100,000 event are vastly different. And I
Hmm.
think if we think about the coaching industry, which is very saturated right now, going to Ella's point, where there were no standards. So I could just today be a coach. And then that just makes it harder for those that are creating true virtual experiences to make that case to a client who does have the purse strings for it. However, their experience has been such that, you know what, I'm better off just kind of renting out a conference room and doing it because it was just lackluster at best. So I think aside from the costing of it, that standard really needs to be, what does that virtual experience look like at those different levels, so that when you're having those conversations, and I use this, I have that baseline, professional, and then a premium option. Yes, you can have that conference room experience, but you're not going to get that. And then this is how it impacts those people that are joining your speaker experience, your vendor experience. So, are you really saving by doing this $4,000 job, or looking at the long term of what it is that you're trying to accomplish with this particular event? It shouldn't be one and done, but that's another horse for another day.
So Harry asked a very, very good question, and it has spiraled into different way of thinking. How do we get around this? I will tell you, Elle, from my perspective, like, it can hurt a group of businesses. And what I seen most that this type of thing hurts is the low man on the totem pole. Is really those guys that are fighting for the crumbs that it really hurts more than anything else. The companies that are, or the businesses that have already made it through that, they have their price set and it is what it is. Do some of those guys get the business sometimes? Yeah, we've seen some of those guys low ball the price. And guess what? The client, the customer, you get what you pay for.
Right.
So in what you're doing, Harry, please know what it costs to do it. And if you do it with excellence, regardless of what the guy down the street is doing, you have to separate yourself from them. All right. Elle said it right. Like when I was a DJ, I don't care what the other DJs were charging. You can charge whatever. You call me. If you want DJ Strick to be at your event, you're going to pay the DJ Strick prices. Well, so-and-so charge, great. If that's what if you want him, go with that. Because it wasn't about what with me. And of course, it was my name that I was using, all right, as a performer. So you're getting my name and I got to actually sit there and play music and all of the stuff that comes with being a DJ. I had my price because I wanted to be sure when I was there that I was getting paid and compensated what I wanted to get paid and compensated for. That being said, we've seen the same thing happen in the graphic industry with websites. Guess what? At one point, you would have to pay a lot of money for a website. I mean, people are still charging $3,000, $5,000 for websites, and even more, right? But with Wix and these template-based websites, WordPress websites, I mean, teenagers could build you a decent website for free.
For free.
But that doesn't mean that these large graphic companies still don't charge a lot of money for websites if you want them to do it.
Yeah, because they don't put the SEO and all that on the back of your website that you need for it to be a good website.
Right.
It still free, but it's not good.
It's not good. I thank you guys. I have this debate all the time. I actually interview DJs, DJ Strick.
DJs have a problem with that.
And they have a major problem. We debate about this all the time about, that person that charges 200 versus that person that charges 1,500.
Right.
That level of music and skill
is a difference, and people get what they pay for. Guess what? They're going to be people that I would tell them, y'all be better off getting your iTunes playlist and just plugging into a speaker
with a phone. Right, it's plugging into a wireless speaker and go.
Nothing I'm gonna be able to do with $200. I'm sorry, I can't help you.
But
people will undercut that way.
There are people, yeah, and in this industry too, I'm seeing that where they'll just undercut everybody and then get a bad experience and then have a bad experience and think everybody does that same level of service.
But what happens is
every industry, y'all. It's every industry.
Yeah, it's every industry. The DJs do have a problem because I'm a DJ, so I understand that. But I will say this to you: the DJ that does charge more actually get the bigger gigs that are able to pay that price, and they get to be known for doing those bigger gigs. So if you want me, you got to pay this price. And everybody else, again, they're trying to get the scraps and they will undercut everybody. And you're right. There's a lot of companies that do that to get into the business. Like I said, someone could actually be a good DJ, unknown, and the first one's free. He undercut everybody because it's free. But, that should be a one-of kind of situation.
Right. And so think about a car. Remember Yugo? Anybody old as me remember Yugos? So
I'm still 89 when I remember Yugo.
Yeah, you can buy Yugo, and you have to get out and kickstarted every once in a while, or you can buy you a Mercedes or Audi or something that's gonna always have that value. So that's really the same. This is just business, right? It's just business in general, and so you can't. So we are talking to a lot of people who are just trying to get in the industry, people who are currently in the industry.
Right.
And I just really, really don't want people to undercut themselves and to go into debt and constantly be working and be burnt out because you're worried about the industry standard. There's no such thing as an industry standard. Your standard is your standard and what it costs you to do it. Because if you live in California versus if you live in South Carolina, the the cost of your internet, just your connection, is so much greater,
Right.
right? So then your costs are going to be higher if you
Right.
live in California versus here. So I can undercut somebody in California by a lot because it's cheaper to live in South Carolina than in California.
Right.
So you have to know your price, you have to know your value, and don't worry about the next man because there's really no competition. If you when you what you sell when you sell is you, well, no
That's
matter what
true.
your product is, whether you're a DJ, whether you are, I don't know, a ballerina, right? You what you're selling is you and your uniqueness. So don't keep trying to worry about what's going on with everybody else because that's
Yeah.
not going to pay your bills.
It's
I
not
think
going to
that's
help.
I
I
would oh
agree.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I agree with that as well, and that's the other super important piece. And when I have the opportunity to talk with creatives specifically, that's the thing that I talk with them about, because I don't know what schools y'all went to, but wasn't nobody telling me when I went to music school about all these other little things that happened with business. They didn't tell me none of this stuff, and I had to learn it on the streets.
The streets.
Oh, you are so adorable.
The
so,
hood on them, the streets.
so,
Yes.
so that thing that you're talking about, Ellen, I love that we're Ella and Ella. That thing that you're talking about when it comes to figuring out your value, and I'm so glad that it came back around to this part here. What is successful for me and the number that works for me is not necessarily going to be the same number that works for everybody else, because as Elle said, my bills ain't the same as John's bills.
Right.
But in that, when it comes to the undercutting part of it, if you don't know that for yourself and you end up charging $25 for an hour to do however many hours of an event, and then you can't buy bread, you're frustrated, you're annoyed, and it's regardless of whether or not you know what the industry standard is, you haven't sorted out for yourself what it costs for you to actually live.
Right.
Right.
And all of those things are incredibly important, while understanding how to set a standard so that excellence can be had everywhere.
This could be a master class.
It is a master
It is
class.
a master class.
I thought that's what it said.
And
The
the
whole point
idea,
of having a mastermind is so I can get all of you brilliant people together and speak your knowledge to the world. I mean, I know you guys are brilliant, and I love that I have the ability to share your brilliance with all my social channels.
Oh man.
that's
Oh, we are
awesome.
always happy to be here for Erica Bates.
Definitely.
I say that every time. I'm always happy to hang out with Erica Bates.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I concur.
Well, we have gone past our hour and 30 minutes. This has been a really great conversation. I do appreciate you guys hanging out. And if you do have somewhere else to go, or if you do want to hang out more, we can move this to the lounge because we have been live streaming for that long. So I do appreciate
Wow.
it. But if you do have to go, I understand. And if you want to hang out, let's meet in the lounge. And if you're watching on the live stream, um, and if you want to hang out with the Virtual Summiteers Mastermind Group, we meet every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And we have speakers the first Fridays of every month. And Ella would love to have you as a speaker. Um, all of you guys are brilliant. And I do appreciate you guys sharing your time and knowledge and energy with us. And I want to say thank you.
You're
You're
so
welcome,
welcome.
Erica.
Thanks
It's
for
a
having me.
pleasure.
Go, Erica. Go,
If
Erica.
if anybody have any takeaways that they want to share, let us know. And after that, we can move to the lounge. Or if you have to go, I understand.
I just want to add thank you for holding the space so consistently, Erica. Even when we don't show up, you show up. So
Yep.
that's really, really appreciated. And I know every Friday at 10, there's some group that I can get with and talk virtual events. So I appreciate it. And I think I speak for all of us saying that because,
Yes, you do.
yeah, the one thing on Friday that I look forward to after a very crazy week. So thank you.
Uh, well, I just found out
Thank
about
you.
this morning about 8 ate something whenever Erica Facebook messaged me. So I'm the newbie here, and thank you guys for having me, and thank you for speaking because this was people needed to hear this.
You're welcome, sir. I appreciate it. Just trying to add a little value where I can. And Erica has been such a great support for me in some of the things that I'm doing. So when she asked me to come, I mean, come on, Erica, no problem. No problem. Sure, I would be there. So I appreciate just the opportunity to be able to add a little value. So I hope I helped today.
Yep.
Yep.
I always find you helpful, and I do appreciate you coming and sharing all of this because hands down, it's true. You need to know your niche. You need to know your target audience. You need to know your value. And I hope people pick that up today. And like, those
Right.
are my takeaways.
It's awesome.
Nice.
All right. So let's lounge it up. I want to meet everybody.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
All right.
we're going to
How you
end the
get back
session,
there?
and you guys can catch the replay catch the replay or meet us next Friday at 10 a.m. And DJ Strick, please tell us where everybody can meet you who is not going to be in the lounge with us.
So I am in a couple of different places, guys. So I live stream on Monday nights on One Stream Live's YouTube channel, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm talking everything content creation and One Stream Live. So teaching people how to use that platform. And that's a branded live stream that I do. And I also do one on Sunday nights for Ecamm Live. And it's called The Stream Show. And that show is based off of Ecamm's community. So it's on their YouTube channel as well. So God has blessed me to be able to have two brand deals. They were kind of separate type of applications, and now they're kind of doing the same thing, but I'm in two different communities doing that. For more details on who I am and what I actually do, you can find me on Facebook at DJ Strick, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn is Strick City, STRICKCITY. And you can also go to strickcity.com to see more details on who I am and what I do.
Nice.
All right. Thank you. Well, everybody, we're going to say goodbye to the live streaming folks, and we're going to go to the lounge. So